Behind me is the scale model of the Frederick Douglass Memorial that I'm working on. I consider it an unbelievable honor that I was chosen to create this memorial of truly one of the greatest Americans of all time. There are so many sides to Frederick Douglass and such an impact he had on millions of people then and millions of people now. Everything about his life was extraordinary, especially when you consider the conditions he was born into of slavery. He wasn't supposed to learn to read. He wasn't supposed to be able to bring people together for equality purposes, but he accomplished that and so many other things. The child sculpture that you see here is, of course, the young Frederick Douglass, and we're depicting him that he's reading and learning to read, which was unheard of during his time for a slave child to be doing such a thing. It was forbidden. But somehow, some way, he was able to not only first learn the alphabet from his mistress who oversaw him, but he would challenge kids in the street, white boys, to challenge them, how do you spell this word? I bet you can't spell it. And ultimately, that was one of the ways he learned to read, and which would serve such an important part of his life later on and become one of the greatest orators of all time. As you look at the figure of Frederick Douglass here, this is him now in his midlife. I really wanted to depict him challenging you to put an end to slavery, to understand what equality means, and that it would be shared by all people and not just by some people. And there were so many images and so much writing I had. I can't even tell you how many different variations where I resculpted his head several times in order to get this feel of determination and that feeling of moving forward, always moving forward for the betterment of all people. His influence was in so many areas, even for the suffragettes and women's equality. He was way ahead of his time. When the suffragettes had their very first convention, Frederick Douglass was the only African American who was there and spoke. This was something that was just amazing for someone of that time to do. On the right side of the monument is an image I'm working on of his son Charles. Actually, Frederick Douglass had two sons that both served in the Union Army. The final composition and the final sculpture is going to be significantly larger than this. The final will be approximately 10 to 12 feet tall and will be in bronze, which is eternal, which matches Frederick Douglass, who is eternal in our hearts and minds. So what we want here is a monument that is Frederick Douglass, but also the impact that he's had in so many areas, men, women, children. And his cause was not just for one side, it was for all people. He wanted a better life for everybody. Having Boston allow this monument to happen is significant in so many ways, including the history of Boston, where he lived for a time, so that he is never forgotten and always remembered.